Welcome to the Best Dental Marketing Podcast. I'm Brad Newman, founder and Chief Buzz Officer of Dentainment. Today, I want to talk about something that every dental practice uses every single day, but very few practices actually think about strategically. Brand colors. Pablo Picasso famously said, "Colors, like features, follow the changes of the emotions." I absolutely love that quote because color is emotional. We react to it. We remember it. It can make something feel exciting, calming, sophisticated, energetic, welcoming, luxurious, clinical, or even intimidating. And that's exactly why your choice of colors can be so significant in dental marketing. Color isn't simply about making your website look beautiful. It isn't just about choosing a logo you like. And it definitely shouldn't come down to saying, "I like blue, so let's use blue." The colors associated with your dental practice can influence how someone feels about your brand before they've read a single word. They can influence attention, trust, recognition, perceived value, emotion, and ultimately conversion. There are some fascinating figures behind this. Adobe reported that 50% of consumers surveyed said they had chosen one brand over another based solely on color. They also found that 54% identified blue as the most trusted brand color. And here's another statistic I find particularly interesting. 1 in 3 consumers said they're more likely to remain loyal to brands that maintain consistent colors. Think about that. Something as seemingly simple as color can become part of how people identify, remember, and develop familiarity with a brand. And familiarity can be incredibly important in dental marketing. Think about the first time someone visits your dental website. Within seconds, they're forming an impression. Does this practice feel modern? Does it feel clinical? Does it feel luxurious? Does it feel welcoming? Does it feel calm? Does it feel like a place where I can trust someone with my smile? Before a prospective patient has read about your credentials, your technology, your experience, or your services, they're already reacting to the visual presentation of your brand. And color is a major part of that reaction. This becomes particularly important in dentistry because patients aren't necessarily arriving at your website in a neutral, emotional state. Some are nervous, some are embarrassed about their teeth, some have been putting off treatment for years, some are worried about pain, some are worried about money, others are considering a major cosmetic or implant procedure and want to know, can I trust this practice? Your colors can either reinforce that trust or work against it. There's a reason you see so much blue in healthcare and dental marketing. Blue is commonly associated with feelings such as trust, stability, calm, professionalism, and security. And remember that Adobe statistic, 54% of consumers surveyed identified blue as the most trusted brand color. So its prevalence in healthcare isn't particularly surprising, but there's also a danger. If every dental practice uses the same blue logo, the same white background, the same stock photography, and the same visual presentation, everyone starts looking the same. The objective isn't simply to pick a color because it's traditionally associated with healthcare, it's to develop a distinctive visual identity while communicating the right feeling. That's where strategy comes into play. Let's look at a few examples. Green can communicate health, wellness, nature, growth, and tranquility. That might work beautifully for a holistic dental practice or a brand emphasizing overall health. Black can communicate sophistication, exclusivity, confidence, and luxury. Used correctly, it can be incredibly powerful for a high-end cosmetic or implant practice. Used incorrectly, it can also feel heavy or intimidating. White communicates cleanliness, simplicity, openness, and space. Obviously, those qualities fit dentistry extremely well. But too much white without visual warmth can sometimes make a website feel sterile. Purple can suggest creativity, sophistication, or premium positioning. Orange can feel energetic, optimistic, friendly, and approachable. Yellow can communicate warmth, happiness, and positivity. And red naturally commands attention. But think about the context. In dentistry, too much red could potentially remind someone of blood, pain, urgency, or danger. That doesn't mean you can never use red. It means you need to understand the emotional context surrounding the color. There isn't one universal color that's going to magically make somebody become a patient. It's about context, audience, contrast, emotion, and intention. This is where color becomes especially interesting from a conversion rate optimization or CRO perspective. One of the biggest mistakes I see on dental websites is a call to action button that blends directly into the rest of the design. Your schedule an appointment button shouldn't disappear. Your call now button shouldn't require someone to search for it. Your request a consultation button should visually communicate, this is where I want you to go next. This is where contrast becomes incredibly important. WebAIM analyzed 1 million homepages in 2026 and found low contrast text on 83.9% of them, more than 8 out of 10. And low contrast was the single most common accessibility issue they detected. So when we're discussing colors, we're not just discussing beauty or branding. We're discussing usability. Can somebody read the content? Can they immediately identify the button? Can they tell what's clickable? Can they easily navigate the website? The goal isn't to find some magical button color that converts better for every dental practice. There isn't one. The goal is to make the most important action on the page visually obvious without making the website feel obnoxious. Good CRO doesn't mean making everything bigger, brighter, and louder. It means strategically directing attention. And this brings me to something I think is incredibly important: continuity. Your colors shouldn't live only on your website, they should carry through your entire marketing ecosystem. Think about everywhere a prospective patient might encounter your practice: your website, your Google business profile, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, your Google ads, your landing pages, your email marketing, your online forms, your videos, your patient education materials, your digital presentations, your printed materials, your business cards, your brochures, your signage, your team apparel, and ultimately your physical office. A patient shouldn't feel like they're interacting with 10 different versions of your dental practice. They should experience one cohesive brand. If your website has an elegant black, white, and gold identity, but your social media suddenly uses bright blue and green graphics, there's a disconnect. If someone clicks a Google ad and arrives on a landing page that looks completely different from the website they've already visited, there's a disconnect. If your YouTube videos use completely different fonts, colors, graphics, and visual treatments from your website, there's another disconnect. Every one of those interactions is a touch point. And every touch point is an opportunity to reinforce recognition. Continuity creates familiarity, and familiarity creates recognition. And I would take continuity one step further. It should follow the patient from the digital world into the physical world. Imagine someone discovering your practice through an Instagram post. They visit your website, they watch one of your YouTube videos, they see a retargeting ad, they receive an email, they schedule an appointment, and then they walk through your front door. The colors, visual identity, personality, and overall feeling should all make sense together. Your signage, your reception area, your printed materials, even elements of your interior environment can reinforce the visual identity that patient has already experienced online. It should feel familiar, almost as if they've already been there. That's an incredibly powerful brand experience. So when we talk about color in dental marketing, we're not talking about decorating individual marketing pieces. We're talking about creating a recognizable visual thread connecting every patient touchpoint, from the first impression to the first click, to the first phone call, to the first appointment, and hopefully to a relationship with that patient that lasts for years. Here's something practical you can take away from today's episode. Your dental practice shouldn't simply have brand colors. It should have a brand color system. Define your primary brand color, your secondary colors, your accent colors, your call to action color, your background colors, your typography colors, and document the exact color values, your hex codes for digital applications, your RGB values, and your CMYK values for print. Because there's a big difference between saying, well, our color is blue, and saying that this is our blue. Everyone working on your marketing should have access to the same standards. Your website developer, your graphic designer, your social media team, your video editor, your advertising team, your photographer, your printer, and your internal team. That eliminates guesswork and creates continuity. Here's another important consideration. Who are you trying to attract? A pediatric dental practice shouldn't necessarily communicate the same emotions as a high-end cosmetic practice. A practice focused heavily on full mouth reconstruction might want a very different visual identity than an office focused primarily on family dentistry. Imagine a luxury cosmetic dental website: beautiful photography, elegant typography, neutral colors, subtle accents, and lots of negative space. Now imagine a pediatric dental practice: bright, warm, playful, energetic, and welcoming. Neither one is necessarily better. They're simply communicating to different audiences. Your colors should support your positioning. You can also create subtle visual differentiation for different areas of your practice without abandoning your core brand. Dental implants might have a slightly more sophisticated, confident visual presentation. Cosmetic dentistry might feel aspirational and elegant. Pediatric dentistry might feel warmer, brighter, and more energetic. Sleep dentistry might use imagery and colors that create a sense of calm and restoration. But here's the key: they should still look like they came from the same dental practice. Think of them as different rooms inside the same house. Each can have its own personality, but the architecture should still connect everything together. Here's something that often gets overlooked: your brand colors aren't just the colors in your logo. Photography and video introduce color too. The clothes your dentist is wearing, the background, the walls, the furniture, the lighting, the colors inside the office. Even the direction someone's eyes are looking can influence where attention goes on a web page. This is why we talk so much about CRO-focused photography. When you're planning a professional dental photo or video shoot, you should already be thinking about where those assets will eventually live. If we know that a photograph will be used in a homepage header with a call to action on the left side, we can intentionally compose the photograph around that purpose. Color, composition, eye lines, messaging, calls to action, they can all work together. That's when a photograph stops simply being a nice picture. It becomes a marketing asset. Color associations can help guide your strategy, but don't assume that a particular color is automatically going to generate more new patients. I've seen people make claims like red buttons convert better, orange buttons convert better, green buttons convert better. That's missing the bigger picture. Contrast and context matter. A green button might stand out beautifully on one website and almost disappear on another. Instead, look at actual patient behavior. Are people clicking the button? Are they completing the form? Are they calling? Where are they stopping? What are your heat maps showing? And when there's enough traffic, can you test different approaches? Great dental marketing combines creativity with data. And here's a challenge I love giving practices. Imagine removing your logo from one of your Instagram posts, or your YouTube thumbnail, or your email, or your Google Ads landing page. Would someone still recognize that it's yours? If the answer is yes, you've probably built a strong visual identity. If the answer is no, there's an opportunity. Because ultimately, that's what we're trying to create. Not simply a pretty website, not simply a beautiful logo, not simply a great social media graphic. We're building a recognizable dental brand, one that looks consistent, feels consistent, communicates consistently, and creates familiarity everywhere a prospective patient encounters it. That's when color stops being decoration. Color becomes part of your marketing strategy. So here's the big takeaway from today's episode. Don't choose your dental practice's colors simply because you personally like them. Ask, what do we want patients to feel? What does our practice stand for? Who is our ideal patient? How do we want to position ourselves? Where do we want someone's attention to go? What action do we want them to take next? And are we communicating that same visual identity everywhere a patient encounters our brand? Then build your visual identity around those answers. Picasso's words are worth remembering. Well, colors, like features, follow the changes of the emotions. Great dental marketing understands that emotion matters, because great dental marketing isn't simply about being seen. It's about creating the right feeling, building trust, being remembered, and making it easier for someone to say, this is the dental practice for me. And if today's episode has you thinking differently about your own dental practice's brand colors, website, or overall digital presence, let's talk. Schedule a digital footprint consultation by visiting Dentainment.com. Let's take a look at how your practice is being represented online and strategize on your brand colors, website, conversion rate optimization, digital marketing, and more. Again, that's Dentainment.com. Thanks so much for listening to the Best Dental Marketing Podcast. I'm Brad Newman. Keep thinking differently about your dental marketing, and I'll see you on the next episode.